I'm standing here today in one of our Michigan State University orchard test sites for apple scab disease management. These are Macintosh trees, one of the most susceptible apple cultivars to scab. Apple scabs caused by the fungal pathogen Venturia inaequalis. An infection by this fungus will lead to disease lesions that occur on leaves and on fruit. Fruit lesions typically occur early in the growing season, and these lesions can expand as the fruit grows, and they can crack, and they're very unsightly. And basically the big issue with these fruit lesions is they're economically important because they take those fruit out of the fresh market and they have to go into processing. These scab lesions on leaves will be the site of overwintering of the fungus. The apple scab fungus overwinters in fallen leaves on the orchard floor. During the following spring, then, the fungus will undergo a sexual cycle and produce a fruiting body called the pseudothecium, and that fruiting body contains the primary ascospores. These ascospores are the spores that represent the primary inoculum. Development of these spores is timed with the development of the tree, and the spores can begin to be released around green tip. The expected spore load at green tip the following season rises very quickly as the proportion of infected leaves from the previous season increases. For example, we can expect approximately 10 times more primary apple scab ascospores at green tip with an increase of the percentage of infected leaves the previous year from 1 to 3%. If the percentage of terminal infected leaves increases to about 5%, we could expect a further tenfold increase in primary ascospores the next season at green tip, to almost 5 million spores per acre. A very high level of infection of 20% the previous autumn could mean 120 million spores per acre at green tip. Therefore, an orchard that has a high infection level of apple scab going into the fall has the potential to be a high inoculum orchard the following season. And high disease inoculum orchards are problematic because it's always more difficult to control scab when the inoculum load is high. Of importance, this can also lead to early infections that most likely occur from fungal spores that escape and cause infection due to imperfect fungicide coverage. And these first primary lesions will actually produce more spores that are secondary conidia than the number of ascospores coming from the ground. And that's hard to believe when I just mentioned we could have as many as 120 million or more ascospores per acre at primary scab at green tip. We can get more secondary conidia once infections occur. In fact, this is an important factor for all of our major tree fruit diseases, something to remember. If we can keep initial inoculum levels down, disease will be much easier to manage.